Nelson Mandela's Inspirational Life Lessons, Overcoming Adversity and Achieving Greatness. The incredible life of Nelson Mandela is one of struggle, tenacity, and triumph against adversity. He was raised in a society that was sharply split along ethnic and economic lines, but he never allowed his constraints to define him. Instead, he rose to prominence as a catalyst for change, an inspiration to millions around the globe, and a sign of hope. Mandela grew up in a traditional Xhosa household with a revered chief for a father. The passing of his father when Mandela was just 9 years old, however, marked a turning point in his life. He was assigned to reside with his uncle, the temporary leader of another village, in that location. Mandela initially encountered the harsh reality of apartheid and the social injustices that prevailed in South African society there. Mandela was a talented and tenacious young man despite the difficulties he encountered. He was a standout student at a Methodist school where he also had a strong interest in athletics, notably boxing. His real love, though, was politics, and while he was a law student at the University of Fort Hare, he got active in student agitation. Mandela practiced law after earning his legal degree and defended clients who had been the targets of prejudice and repression. Additionally, he participated actively in the African National Congress, ANC, a group that promoted the rights of black South Africans. But because of his activism and leadership, the apartheid government targeted him, and he was repeatedly detained. Mandela received a life sentence in jail in 1962 for sabotage and plotting against the government. He was imprisoned for the following 27 years, the majority of them on the infamous Robben Island prison off the coast of Cape Town. Mandela maintained hope despite the oppressive conditions and isolation of prison life. In and out of prison, he persisted in advocating for the rights of his people. Anti-apartheid campaigners used Mandela's imprisonment as a rallying point to call for both his release and the abolition of apartheid. His name came to be associated with the fight against inequality and injustice, and his life's work served as an example for people all around the world to stand up for their own liberties and rights. Mandela was finally freed from prison by the apartheid authorities in 1990, following years of international pressure. He became a hero and a representation of hope for a new South Africa that was liberated from apartheid. Mandela continued to lead the ANC and negotiate a smooth transition to democracy with the ruling party. Mandela was chosen as the nation's first black president in 1994, when South Africa had its first democratic elections. After decades of hostility and division, Mandela's presidency was centered on healing and reconciliation. He worked to unite South Africans of all racial backgrounds. His creation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission gave victims of apartheid-era human rights violations a platform to speak their story and demand redress. Mandela left behind a legacy of bravery, tenacity, and forgiveness. He never lost hope in the cause of justice and equality in spite of the wrongs he encountered and the difficulties he had to undergo. He battled tenaciously to realize his conviction that everyone, regardless of color or origin, was entitled to the same rights and freedoms. Mandela demonstrated the virtues of endurance, tenacity, and hope throughout of his life. He demonstrated to us that we have the ability to persevere and never give up on our goals, even in the most difficult circumstances. His example shows us that we can influence the world for the better no matter who we are, where we come from, or what challenges we encounter. Finally, Nelson Mandela's life serves as an example for all of us. He was a courageous and tenacious individual who never lost sight of his goal of creating a better world. His example demonstrates that change is possible, despite how difficult it may initially seem. Mandela's legacy serves as a constant reminder that every one of us has a duty to pursue justice and equality and to never give up in the face of difficulty. Mandela's legacy still serves as a source of motivation for people today. His message of faith and tenacity is still applicable today as it was then. His life serves as a reminder that regardless of how big or tiny our acts may seem, we all have the ability to bring about positive change in the world. Thank you for joining us today.